Hi folks, today I'm going to be talking to you about Session 0. So what is a Session 0? It's the session prior to the actual campaign. It's a good session to get everybody together to talk about what the campaign is going to be, to create your characters, to set up kind of house rules and table rules, all of those things. So I'm going to be telling you today a few things that you may want to incorporate into your Session 0. Now I will say you probably don't need to have a Session 0 for a one-shot. But a long-running campaign, especially in a group that you want to be playing with on a regular basis, and especially for homebrews, it's good to have a Session 0 so that everybody is on board and on the same page with what game they're going to play, and also kind of has a good idea of what are the expectations for the table. As a GM, it's good to give your players the tone and themes that you would like the campaign to cover. A good way of thinking about it is pitching your players the campaign. So giving like a tease of the story. Think about like on the back of a book, the summary where you're not going to give away major plot points or stuff like that, but players are going to know, okay, this is going to be a hack and slash, or okay, this is going to be a political intrigue. This makes sure that everybody's on board with the game that they're playing, and you don't have somebody who's like, I just wanted to run around and attack goblins and defeat dragons, and you end up in this like political intrigue, or vice versa. This is also a good chance for players to then bring up if there are any things that they don't want to see in game. So you can use some tools like lines and veils or X card, and I go into those in other videos, or just an opportunity for people to say like, hey, I don't like when kids get hurt in story. And that's something that the GM can then take that and make any changes based on the player's feedback, or if something that a player has brought up that they're not comfortable having this in game is very central to the story you were planning on having, maybe that's an opportunity to step back and say, maybe this isn't the game for that particular player. So this gets everybody on the same page of what themes and tone and all of that, the players and the GM, everybody is on board. All of the players are on board with each other. This is also a great chance to talk about playstyle. You can have different playstyles at the same table, but if there is a particular playstyle that is jarring or you don't like, you can bring that up and try and figure out how to make it work for the table, or decide, okay, maybe a couple people, this isn't the game for them. That's kind of a running theme. It gives people a good chance to back out gracefully from something before getting like, okay, we're 3 sessions in and now I realize this is not the game I wanted to play, but I don't want to let everybody else down. You can step out before it ever becomes an issue. With playstyle, are you going to be using miniatures? Do you prefer doing theater of the mind? Are you going to be using voices? Are you going to be speaking in third person about your character? All those things that can get discussed. People can talk about, hey, this is how I prefer to play, and if anybody has any issues or finds that there's something that's just not going to mesh, you can come up with a plan for how to deal with it. This is also a great opportunity to talk about rules, both what rule system are you going to be like, okay, first of all, what system are you using for the game? And then also, if there are alternative rules within those systems, you can discuss that and come up with which one are we going to use so that everybody's on the same page from the start. And then also, if you have any house rules that you prefer to use, this is a great opportunity to discuss those and come up with a plan. And this just kind of makes it smoother down the road so that when you do run into those times where it's like there's a house rule or an alternative rule, the players and GM, everybody's going to be on the same page. Also, it's good to come up with table rules. And maybe rules might be a little strict for this thing, but kind of what is the expected etiquette at the table? Like, is food and drink okay? How do we handle cell phones at the table? Stuff like that. Also, with this, I would include figuring out the schedule. So sitting down and saying, hey, are we going to be gaming on a consistent schedule so that everybody can know ahead of time? Or is it going to be trying to fit people in? And then I'd also come up with kind of a game plan for if somebody has to miss a session. it's gonna happen at some point. So it's good if you already know ahead of time, like, hey, if this person has to miss this session, we'll find an excuse for why their character isn't there. Or if it's, okay, this person isn't here, but so-and-so is going to play their character for them. Session 0 is also a great opportunity to roll up the characters. Even if it's not everybody sits down and creates, fills out all the character sheets and does all of the roles, but at least discussing the kind of character you want to play. So for like Dungeons and Dragons, what race and class do you want to be? Or what is the character's backstory? I really like figuring out backstories because that also gives you an opportunity to maybe find ways that your characters already know of each other. For the GM, that's super helpful. Also, that's just fun character things to go in, even if they aren't like best buds, but like, oh yeah, we grew up in the same village, or I ran into this person at one point. You're familiar with the other person, even if you aren't like siblings or best friends. Similar, this is a great opportunity to cover character knowledge. So for the GM to let the players know, here are the things your characters know about this world. This is especially good like in fantasy settings. How common is magic? Or what are some of the major political powers? What are some major events that had happened? Stuff like that, so that you can start incorporating that. This is also good to have in more modern settings to help differentiate, like, hey, these are the things that you as a player know versus your characters know. Like Tales from the Loop. I've got some knowledge about 80s type stuff that my character might not, because it's brand new in the 80s. And even if that's not something that you get all of that info right at once, especially if you're first coming up with your character ideas in that session, the GM might not have everything right away, but it gives the GM an opportunity to give you that information before you actually sit down to play a real session. Another great thing about having a session 0 is it's a great opportunity for everybody to meet each other and just see if personalities mesh or if there are any clashes, especially if you're playing with people that you don't really know very well, or there are people in the group that are like, I'm friends with both of these people, I think they will get along, but let's see if they actually get along before we commit to like a 2-year campaign. Alright, so those are some of the things you may want to cover in a session 0. Is there anything that I missed that you would suggest including in your session 0? Let's talk about it more down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I want to give a special thanks to all of our patrons, especially Sean, Joan, RV, Lainey, and Bryce. If you're interested in becoming one of our patrons, getting some cool perks, and helping us along the way, you can head over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can keep up with our daily activities over at R4I Vlog on Twitter and Instagram. And we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye! How many times can I say same page in this video? Let's find out.